but I'm not taking down that tweet.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, I want to do a reaction to one of Blasted Salami's newest videos, our ideas for Tekken 8. Now, I watched this whole video already before. First off, it was recommended to me by 2 comments. Thank you to those guys. But also, when I did watch this video, it was pretty cool. A lot of good ideas in here and a lot of things that I've been asking for. So to see that Blasted Salami's kind of on the same page, we do disagree with some things. As we get into the video, I'll tell you what I would want instead. Starting off with Kazuya Mishima.
What will likely be the focus of Tekken 8's storyline is the ongoing conflict between Jin Kazama and Kazuya Mishima. Kazuya has aged a bit, and like father, like son, he's beginning to look more like Heihachi.
I really like this design here from Blasted Salami and his team that created this. This outfit really screams experience. And also what I like about this too, without even mentioning it, but he kind of showed it with these designs, is a time skip. I know a lot of people say that Tekken 8 has to pick up exactly where Tekken 7 starts off. I kind of agree, but at some point in there, they should do a time step. And if you look at this concept art that Blasted Salami and his team created, the time skip is huge. Gray hair for Kazuya, a full mustache. We'll talk about Nina Williams when we get there, but a lot of these characters have matured so much. And that's what I'm begging for. When you have 3 games that take place within the same year, these characters kind of become stagnant. Their stories doesn't really progress. I know I get a lot of flack for talking about these characters' story, but the main thing is I feel like we're stuck in the beginning for these characters. A lot of the characters don't get to grow. They don't get to mature. They don't get to reflect. Right? Reflect on what happened in Tekken 6 or reflect on what happened in Tekken 5, because that in the Tekken series, those games happened 5 months ago. You know what I mean? For them, this whole Tekken 4, 5, 6 is all one big, long, drawn out year. I would love to see what these characters would look like after they get time to think about what they just went through, what just happened. I don't want to get too far away from the video, so let's keep going. But I just think it's interesting here how far Blasted Salami wants to push the story forward. And I would agree, the story needs to move forward like this. But at the same time, making these characters older do kind of hurt them, because you run into this problem where, you know, the older you get, the closer you are to death. You know, that's how life works. So with video game characters, the older you make them, the shorter they can remain in the gaming franchise, realistically, right?
I always loved this evocative imagery from Tekken 2 and Tekken Tag Tournament, portraying Kazuya as this immensely powerful but lonely, isolated, and conflicted man.
I really like this part here. I was talking about how I wanted him to be like, you know, blood hungry. Like, okay, I just killed Heihachi, now where's Jin? But I think this aspect is way better. He gets rid of Heihachi, but it's like, what's left? What do you do now? And this is why I think they should build up some of his allies, some of the people who are in his inner circle, Bruce, Anna, in order to really bring out that emotional side, that dark side of Kazuya, the loneliness. We need to see his like day to day. We need to see Anna Williams and how she's always trying to pull his strings and she's always trying to manipulate the situation. We need to see Bruce and how their dynamic is going. Especially all this time has passed since Bruce was in the game. It would be pretty cool to see what their dynamic is like now. A lot of people don't know this, but Anna Williams, her story for Tekken 7 is that she retired. She stepped away from all of the hunting her sister and hunting Jin and dealing with Kazuya. Show us that aspect in Tekken 8. Show us why she stepped away. Show us how that affected Kazuya after.
Jin is now also looking more like Kazuya. One of his eyes permanently glows yellow, similar to Kazuya's red heterochromia, and one side of his face is carved with the devil markings. Similar to Kazuya, Jin has successfully fused with his devil alter ego, and I think it'd be really interesting from a gameplay perspective for Tekken to try a moveset switch character, where you have to choose between a more defensively inclined Jin and offensively inclined Devil Jin, each separated by perhaps a stance animation.
Blasted Salami is very good with words, but basically what I'm getting from this is Blasted Salami is saying they should merge Jin and Devil Jin into one character. Now this is something that I said, I was reading a poll. It was a poll that said what you want them merged into one, yes or no. And the majority of people, Jin mains and Devil Jin mains, said no. They do not want the character to be merged. Now, I can see why you wouldn't merge them, right? Both of these characters are very popular. Both of these characters have a completely, I won't say completely different moveset, but they have their own styles. Blasted Salami says it in the video, offense and defense. But what I think would be really cool about merging the two is what that would do for the character. Because that's the thing, Jin is a character. And the longer we keep Jin and Devil Jin separate, that's dividing his identity. We merge those two together, you get offense and defense, and being able to switch to Devil Jin mid-match, I think that would make Jin more whole, more complete. If they do what he's saying here, him mastering the Devil Jin, one eye turning yellow with the tattoos, them merging the two characters would almost be necessary at that point because they wouldn't be separate. My interpretation of them being separate is that when Jin switches into Devil Jin, he doesn't really have control. That's been shown to us time and time again. He nearly killed Harada, he was beating up Claudio, and he almost killed Zhao Yu. So that is why they're separate, is because they almost are separate. You have to look at Jin and Devil Jin being merged as not two characters being merged, but one character becoming whole. I think is an important way to see it.
Story-wise, I think it'll also be interesting to explore how children often come to resemble their parents, even if they despise them. Both Kazuya and Jin are defined by their hatred for their father.
I was watching The Boys season 3. For those of you who've seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but for those of you who've seen it, there's a lot of themes of parents, adults, children, and what kind of trauma we pass on to them. And I think this kind of storytelling can really hit home in Tekken. Heihachi was hurt. Heihachi had his own demons, and he passed those on to Kazuya. Kazuya did some crazy things and passed those on to Jin. And we kind of see 3-4 generations all hating each other. And the Mishima bloodline kind of does look cursed in a way. Not only are they possessed by demons at this point, but they kind of hate their own bloodline, their own lineage. And I think that's very, very powerful. I think that's something they can tap into. Now, one thing about this video before we move on, Blasted Salami doesn't mention Jun Kazama not once. And with the whole community constantly yelling her name the loudest that they can, you would imagine she's going to be in here in some shape or form. And I wonder, what will the developers do? Because the theme of this video from Blasted Salami is Kazuya versus Jin. But if Jun Kazama is put in there, she really will change a lot of elements and a lot of themes. One of the things that can really get Kazuya and Jin to let go of their hatred and start to love one another is possibly Jun Kazama. At the same time, I think they will need to deal with some things themselves. You can't just shoehorn her into the story and everything be fine and dandy. I think they will need to speak, fight, go away, come back. Like, they definitely have a lot to work out, and I just want to see those plot points unfold.
Resurrect Heihachi's charred, mangled corpse as a cyborg. The old man's being resurrected as part of the latest and final version of the Jack program, where they implant the brains of great fallen warriors into indestructible ironclad bodies.
I would love to see how Kuma develops without Heihachi being there. Heihachi, even though he's this like evil, vicious man, Kuma is his dog. Kuma is his best friend. I've seen a lot of people in the community, they said that Heihachi's brain should be put inside Kuma. Heihachi would be furious if he was killed and then resurrected and then as a result, they killed his animal and put the brain inside of it. I don't think they would do that. And another thing about Mecha Heihachi, I see it going one of two ways. One, you could either have Heihachi risen out of lava and becoming Mecha Heihachi. They build a new body for him, put his brain inside, and then boom, there he is, Mecha Heihachi. But also what I think would be really cool, the reason why I say Hive Mind Mecha Heihachi is because this kind of was already shown to us. There isn't just one Heihachi robot. There is multiple. Some are life-size, some are like the same size as Jin and Kazuya, but then you also have Mecha Heihachi robots that is the size of buildings. I think putting Heihachi's brain in one, it kind of limits the threat. It kind of limits his potential. Giving him a whole Jack Heihachi army would really like increase his presence. Blasted Salami talks about Law and Paul, Steve, and Harang, but I don't want to talk about those characters in this story. Not because I don't like them or I don't like what he's saying, but I don't want to talk about them because I don't want this video to be a complete re-uploading of his. So if you want to hear about those 4 characters, go watch his video. I will skip it out of respect of the craft. Now this part of the video, he starts talking about Nina Williams. I really like some of the ideas that he gives here, but at the same time, I don't see Harada and the Japanese developers taking these kind of steps with their main female character. Like, look at the list of names here. The list of names here. There's 2 females, Nina Williams and Alyssa, and we all know the Japanese developers do not like aging their women, and to push your main female lead so far to give her full gray hair, I just don't see them. I would love for them to do that, but I don't see Harada and Michael Murray having the courage to do that.
Nina Williams. In Tekken 3, Nina and Anna were forced to become test subjects for cryogenic freezing experiments, and so were put into a cold sleep, meaning they stayed in their 20s despite the rest of the male cast aging up. So, Nina during the time skip has aged disproportionately. Let's say the cryogenic freezing wore off or is having some side effects resulting in accelerated aging.
When I see these images here, these drawings, it makes me think about the clones from the Clone Wars. That's the kind of vibes that I get from Nina and Anna Williams. I'll give you guys a quick breakdown of the clones from Star Wars because it's very important. I think it is. So, the clones was created by Emperor Palpatine, Dark Sidious, and they were used as tools to destabilize the Jedi Empire, basically, the Jedi Order. And after they did their progress, after they eliminated the Jedis, they were thrown aside. And a lot of the clones had accelerated aging. When they aged, they were either given the job of like a janitor, or a lot of them was just discarded. They became homeless. They became bums, begging for change.
Even this bad batcher 99 has more sense than you guys do, and he's a maintenance clone.
Help a veteran get a warm meal.
I'm not saying that is what Nina is, but you have to look at it the same way. The Mishima Zaibatsu, literally, they harvest her ovaries. That's like one of the craziest things you can do to a woman. And then also put her in cryo sleeping, and they are like messing with her aging. Looking and dissecting that aspect of the character could be huge because her DNA was used to create another person. That person is in the game, Steve Fox, a test subject. How does that affect her mentally? And you could kind of see that as her being upset at the Mishima Zaibatsu, or her really being upset and not wanting him. But I think there's so much to explore there. And this Nina Williams with the gray hair, scars, this shows her past is dark. There's so much more you can explore with these characters. And it really goes back to the idea of if the developers have the guts to tell these stories.
Finally, on to Lars and Elisa. A lot of people point to these characters as the moment when Tekken jumped the shark, so to speak, in terms of character design. Essentially that they're way too anime and that it skewed Tekken's delicate, multifaceted balance of inspirations towards nerd or otaku culture.
So this part here, I think they kind of fixed this in Tekken 7. In some of these more recent designs that they're doing, they're starting to be more creative. This issue has already been fixed.
I really hope they just go full Viking with this guy. Give him a badass Norse Viking beard, make him speak Swedish, have his eyes tinge blue with lightning, and overall just make him metal as all hell.
What I really love about this part is, one, you can hear the theme of God of War playing in the background. And two, I was talking about this a while ago. As kind of a joke, but not really a joke, I was saying I would love for them to add in a mythological character like Odin, like Thor, like Loki, like Zeus. I really wonder how the Lars mains feels about this transformation. You're basically turning Lars into Norse mythology Kratos. I would love for a Viking type of character to be introduced into the game, but you would have to change so much about Lars to get him to that point.
And I think something that Lars has always lacked as a character is a more personal, emotionally charged connection to his Mishima-Kazama blood feud. I think Devil Jin should be responsible for either seriously damaging or outright destroying the original Alisa.
I really kind of like this part too, where he's talking about having Devil Jin being the one who destroys the original Alisa. Because Lars, I really don't want Lars to be like a sidekick at the end of the day, right? In Tekken, at the end of Tekken 7, if you look at how those characters are standing, it's very easy for Lars to slip into this sort of sidekick role. What do we do next, Jin? But I think having Jin sort of turn on Lars, whether it be a disagreement in tactics or whether he just loses control of the Devil Gene. What would be really cool is, if you guys seen the Tekken Blood Revenge, I think it's called, in that movie Kazuya steps on Alisa. What if in Tekken 8 it was Jin who did that? Alisa steps in to protect Lars and Jin says stand down. She falls, lays on the ground, and then Devil Jin steps on her. That would be very, very powerful, but also it would be a great callback to the movie. And the part in here about there being multiple Alisas, I don't know if Blasphemy is aware of the non-canon comics, but in the non-canon comics, that is actually what happens. There's many Alisas in here. Yoshimitsu, Zhao Yu, Paul Phoenix, there's a few other characters, Jin, they all fight these team of Alisas. And I think this could be like Lee's sort of defense mechanism. Alisa is dead. You have Mecha Heihachi roaming around with an army of Mecha Heihachis. Maybe he orders some initiative to create an army of Alisas. So what you have is Kazuya fully mastering the Devil Gene. Jin fully mastering the Devil Gene. The original Alisa is dead or destroyed, so they create an army of Alisas. You have a resurrected team, a hive mind of Mecha Heihachis. But then also Jun Kazama is in the Hydro clan. Like I said, there's many factors at hand here. It really could be spectacular, but at the same time, if they split up the cast too much, I could see it getting kind of messy. You also have Claudio, Zafina, she has Azel. Like, there's a lot of things to juggle. I can definitely see the story having too many plot lines, basically. Too many plot lines can destroy a film, a movie, a game. It's a lot to juggle. I'm really happy to see the community so engaged in the discussion. Often I hear fighting games is not about story, who cares about story, but to see Blast Islami, channels like mine, and just channels like, I've seen a lot of people talking about story lately, and it's amazing to see because yes, it's a fighting game, button mash your way to the top, but at the same time, we love these characters, we grew up with these characters. Tekken is one of the oldest gaming franchises on the planet right now. You can't get there without a strong roster of characters. So that's going to be it for this video as well. I'm going to skip the Alisas Boskanovich part. If you guys want to hear more about this, if you guys want to see the rest of his videos, then definitely go and watch. But that's going to be it for this video. I just want to break this down and talk about it. Very good video about Blast Islami. I can't say it enough, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.